America Meditating Radio Show. We collect wisdom, inspire each other, and empower hearts on demand 24/7. Hi everyone, I'm Sister Jenna, host of the syndicated America Meditating Radio. We bridge divides, we seek deeper meaning, and we answer life's most compelling questions from experts around the world. Because in a world of uncertainty and division within and out, we will need answers right here, right now. Join me and guests on America Meditating Radio, a show for everyone to learn more about this amazing thing called life.
I want to show you something.
Each day around the world, 5,000 people are infected with HIV.
That was over 20 years ago.
Today, an estimated 1 in 5 gay men in major U.S. cities is living with HIV.
So why aren't we talking about it?
Today, we have the tools to make HIV history.
Let's finish what we started.
Because the world needs you to live.
Get off the grid and step inside your heart. Sister Jenna guides you through a powerful, encouraging, and motivating meditation that allows you to let go and become aware of you, regain strength, power, and peace.
And the world goes around and round on an axis in the air, and it rotates in such a way. There are 24 hours to every day, and 365 days to the year. God send your loving angels to guide us on our way down here. It's a world of hope and kindness now. It's a perfect peace I see. It's these pictures of peace that set my heart free to really be me. Shower this world with peace. Show what your heart, show what your soul really means to this wonderful world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to America Meditating Radio. That was Paul Lefneger called The World. Wasn't that beautiful? His music, I don't know what it is about Paul. There's just something in his spirit that you just can't help but be moved by his energy. And so welcome and wake up and stay awake, because all across the world we're being called to rebrand ourselves, to relook at ourselves, to reorganize ourselves, at this time when we see the condition of the world. Many of us, I think, are feeling called to serve, to give back, to be better, to offer. Any of you watched the Super Bowls that took place just a few weeks ago? All the commercials that played for Super Bowl were basically about consciousness. They were about caring for the immigrants. They were about caring about various aspects of how we live, about the LGBTQ community. They were caring about everything. Commercials and branding and marketing has shifted also. And I think that we're shifting into more of an attitude or an awareness of service. That whatever I do to earn my living, let it be of service to others. But I have to tell you, that if your mind or your emotions are affected by the conditions of the world and its unfolding, we can't really serve. Because if my mind is filled with anger or sadness, I can't give, I can't serve at the level that I feel I should. So often we use this analogy of the boat moving through the water, right? For the boat to reach its destination, the water must remain outside the boat. And for our minds to be able to serve, the atmosphere of the world must remain outside of our minds. Do you get it? It is not that the outside atmosphere leaks into the boat of our mind, but rather the vibrations of a powerful and a clean mind can affect the atmosphere outside, bringing strength to our brothers and sisters in the world. You're listening to America Meditating Radio. We're glad that you join us, and we're glad that you keep joining us, because I think the need for security, simplicity, purity, truth is needed so that we don't go bananas. And today we have an incredibly special guest all the way from down under in Australia, Franziska Iseli. Franziska is a maverick entrepreneur, leading marketing strategist, speaker, author, and the co-founder of basicbananas.com, Oceanlovers.global, and yoursocially.com, thebusinesshood.com, and impactyours.com. Think about busy, right? And in 2013, she was awarded the NSW Young Entrepreneur of the Year award, recognizing her innovation, creativity, and philanthropic involvement as well. Franziska is the author of the best-selling book, Perception and Bananas About Marketing, How to Attract a Whole Bunch of Clients, and contributes to various publications, including HuffPost. She's regularly featured across the media, including Forbes, Business Insider, the Sydney Morning Herald, and Dynamic Business Magazine, to name just a few. But Franziska is a big believer in social business and is always on the lookout for social projects. The latest ones include the adoption of a Mongolian wild horse and a whale, my favorite animal, a horse. Today we're honored to welcome Franziska Iseli, who was brought to us by our wonderful brother who gave us some great tips on stocks, Alan. So Franziska, welcome to the show. We're so glad that we can have you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's my honor to be here.
Well, I'm sure that Australia has been feeling the vibrations of America, because we heard about your Prime Minister in the news just last week.
Yes, absolutely. You know, it's very interesting. It's definitely a little bit more Australia. I'm not Australian originally. I'm Australian now. I'm Swiss Australian. And you can definitely feel here we're quite removed from a lot of things, unfortunately, some people think fortunately, but we can definitely feel some of the energy coming this way for sure.
You can feel that things are kind of getting a little bit bananas, but good banana maybe.
Yeah,
I know
bananas,
that.
Yes.
Yeah, like a good one though. I know your business, basicbananas.com. It's considered Australia's leading marketing training organization, and I'd love for our listeners to find out what actually inspired inspired your interest in entrepreneurship, marketing, and branding, especially at a time where things are changing really rapidly? I mentioned earlier in the show, Franziska, about the Super Bowl ads. We're all about consciousness. We're about care. We're about helping others. What's about not leaving anybody behind? Maybe one of the other questions I'd love to ask you, too, is have you found that marketing and branding has been changing now? Is it changing rapidly as well?
Yeah, I'll answer the first question. So how did I come about loving this? And it's an interesting journey. I always knew when I was younger and then when I went through university that I wanted to do something on my own, mainly because I was never very good with authority. I just don't like when people tell me what to do. I have a bit of an authority phobia maybe, and I don't like rules and all these other things. I realized, the only way for me is to do my own thing. But I didn't realize that it was going to be marketing until I happened to be working in advertising and marketing. And suddenly, back then I thought I had this mindset of I want to change the world. Back then, those were my words. I want to change the world, until I realized the world doesn't need changing, but our behaviors inside this world need changing. And I happened to suddenly land in marketing, and I felt like this is not the way to do this. And I was a little bit upset about it even, like, why am I doing this? I can do so much better and I can make a bigger impact, until I realized that most things come back to marketing. So just recently with one of my other companies, Oceanlovers, that you mentioned, we have products that are inspired by the ocean, but we also organize beach cleanups, really because we want to honor the ocean and we want to keep our environment clean. You need marketing to get people to come and pick up other people's trash. You really need to be a good marketer to be able to do that. And I had this realization over the last years as I was running this marketing company basically, and I said, if you want to achieve anything really, marketing is one of your core skills that you need. And that is to make an impact, to change something, to step up. Marketing is really one of those core skills that can help you achieve whatever you set out to achieve. And in terms has marketing changed?
I was just thinking about, as you were talking about your work with the water, how much we need you here at Standing Rock. You might have heard some news about the American Indians and their reservations here. And some energy companies have been want to run their pipelines through their land. And, we've seen with majority of the oil pipelines, they eventually erode or burst, and then they would ruin the water. And what we would do to have you help with the marketing of Standing Rock, because I think the more awareness and the more importance of why this is their country, that is their land. There is a law that nobody can touch it, and now corporate moguls are just like, forget all of that. We're coming in. And it's just been really one of the saddest times in our country as well.
It's super. I've seen it all, and it breaks my heart. And, the thing with marketing, and this also answers your question, is how has it changed? How it's changed and how marketing needs to be used nowadays is not banging on about something and going, do this or buy this or don't build this pipe. That's not how marketing works. To be effective nowadays, marketing has to be educational. It has to educate people why you do something or don't do something. It has to be inspirational, and it has to meet people where they're at. So with these big corporates, if we just go and we tell them, don't do this, you guys are bad, it's not. We need to meet them a little bit where they're at so that they pay attention to us, and then we can move them to where we want them to go. It's really a transformation. Marketing can help people to have a transformation, but we have to almost meet them where they're at so that they listen, and then we lead them to where we want them to be.
I love that. Has marketing changed a lot now? I mean, I just mentioned about the Super Bowl ads were just the most conscious I've ever seen in decades.
I do think that more and more people are waking up a little bit to their environment, and I do believe that I've always believed in the good in people, and I do believe that despite everything that's going on in the world, there's also a movement of good things going on, and some people, of course not everyone, are doing good things in the world, and you can see this reflected in their marketing. It's not anymore about trying to just sell anything to anyone, but it's about creating good things, creating a really good product or a good service that actually adds value and bringing this to the right person. with the right marketing channels. And, all of the sort of up-and-coming companies that are doing really well are the ones that use marketing that is a little bit more emotional-driven and a little bit more transformational and inspirational, rather than just talking about the features of something. And that's certainly way more effective than the old school sort of just talking about features and benefits of a product or service.
Love that. Congratulations. Your book is a bestseller, Perception. Why is perception so important today? Because, you and I are carrying our own narratives, and a lot of us feel very attached to our stories, and as a result of our attachment, I think that we perceive and interpret things. Two of us could look at the same image and just have a completely different interpretation. But, why is perception really important in today's world? I can't begin to tell you how much we're bombarded by news and information here that nobody knows what to think anymore. I'm so glad I'm awake, or as I think I'd be so lost in the muck of deception that's going on in the media in America. So tell me a little bit about perception and how can it benefit our lives in these times?
Yeah, and you really hit the nail on the head when you said we all have different stories in our lives, and these stories influence how we would perceive something. Even now with all that's going on in the U.S., with the elections and Trump being the president, there are people that tell themselves the story that, hey, this is obviously a very bad thing that happened, but what am I going to do about it? And there are people out there. One of my friends is just one small example. His story obviously is, what can I do? His perception of himself is different to someone else. He just posted the other day on his social media channels, hey, if anyone wants free Spanish lessons, he's Mexican, just come to my house and I'll give you lessons. So that's a little tiny minor detail that maybe goes unnoticed, but I'm noticing this and I'm thinking, wow, some people have this perception, I can do something, even if it's a little thing, to expand people's horizons. Then there are the other people that have the perception of the world is going to end. And they're often the people that just sit there and scream and moan and bitch about everything. And that's a different perception. It's like we can't judge either. It's just different stories that they tell themselves. And when it comes to perception, really have the external perception of ourselves, so how other people are perceiving us, but also we have the internal perception, which is how am I perceiving myself in this world. And they're both equally important. And I think what the listeners need to understand and get excited about is that they can influence and take charge of how they want to be perceived by other people, but also how they perceive themselves, the stories that they tell themselves. We have to take charge of it if we want to achieve whatever we set out to achieve.
What's your story? What do you tell yourself on a regular basis, and is it still serving you? And why I'm asking you that is just because it's personal, and it helps, I think, many of us, including myself, to sometimes catch ourselves, in between our words, to try to figure ourselves out, like, what's your story now, and is it serving you?
Yes, so basically humans normally have many different stories. I have many, many different stories for different things, and I'm very aware of my stories, so I definitely can catch them and change them if they're not serving me. So I do believe that most stories are serving me. There might be some that are not serving me, but they're probably, once I'm aware of that, I can change them. So, one example is last year I ran the New York City Marathon, but I didn't train for it. I just happened to be in New York and I got a ticket and I thought, I'm just going to do this as an experience. So I knew I had to, since I wasn't really a runner, I had to tell myself a specific story to actually do it and to make it to the end. And so I just picked the story, and I basically just the whole time I told myself in my head, you got this, you got this, you got this, you got this. And then, of course, with all the people cheering you on, they say the same thing, and you sort of just have the story from the outside and the inside. But it really depends on, say, another example is when something happens in your life, it could be something tragic, and you then choose what story do you want to attach to this. One of my sort of recent or semi-recent things, not so recent now, my dad passed away when he was quite young, 9 years ago. He was 58, and I could have told myself any sort of story around this event, that that now the rest of my life is going to be really bad, or that this is horrible and I'm going to be lonely without having my dad. And instead, I told myself the story that I'm going to be a better human being because of it, because it made me aware of my own mortality. And because of it, I'm like, well, I could have my last interaction with someone right now. So what am I going to do? How do I want to have this last interaction? If it was going to be the last one, what's the outcome that I want? I want to leave people better off. Or even, something might have happened in your childhood. Again, my dad, when I was younger, he was a business owner himself. He was very busy. He wasn't there very much. I could have told myself the story that he doesn't love me. And I maybe did for a little while when I was younger until I changed the story. I'm like, no, he loves me so much. He's always working so that we can eat and we can live in our home. So you can change the story to either this guy doesn't love me. He's never there. He never tells me that he loves me. Or this guy is so busy. He's working so hard because he loves me so much, because he wants us to have a good life. So I think every single thing is about the story that we tell ourselves.
Well, let's look at perception and business, shall we? I mean, are there steps that a business can take to maybe define and create the perception that will lead to some sort of a lasting success, or at least sustainable success, if it desires so?
Yes, absolutely. It's so important in business as much as it is important on a personal level. If you run a business, you really have to be conscious about the perception, the image that you build with this business. And the first step is to ask yourself, and usually you can do this when you start a new business, but even if someone has been in business for years and years, you do this at any stage in your business. And you look at this business and you ask yourself this question: if this business was a person, how would I describe him or her? What sort of characteristics would I give this business? And the best way to answer this question is by using adjectives. Adjectives are descriptive words. So it could be brave or courageous, adventurous, old school, modern, young, old, conservative, any words that you choose. Because every business has a character. Whether we consciously pick it or not, if we don't pick it, your market will pick it for you. They will choose the perception of your business, but you might as well influence that. And you do that by consciously, the first step, asking the question, how do you want this business to be perceived? And this is same process for your own personal human being persona. And secondly, you then go about, you only pick maybe 2 or 3 characteristics. So you might say, you know what, the perception of this business, the image I want to build, the thing that I want people to see when they interact with this business is cheeky, charismatic, and high quality, maybe premium. Great. Now you have these 3 characteristics. Now you make sure that every touch point that you have, everything you do in your business reflects on that character. And if you do this consistently, your business will be perceived that certain way. And when people come to you, they know, okay, when I interact with Basic Bananas, it's always going to be quite fun and a little bit charismatic. And these guys don't wear suits, and it's quite free-spirited. But if I wanted a business to be seen as conservative, then of course I would change things, just the way we do things, so that it can be seen that way.
I love that. Do the strategies behind influence and perception also work to shape our personal lives as well as others? I mean, it plays a role too, you'd say, right?
Yeah, it plays a huge role in how you shape your life. Really, how others obviously perceive you will have a huge influence on who you will attract, what sort of a job you will get, what sort of success that you have. And actually, one really good example, I love this example. There was a guy called Robert Allen Zimmerman, who a lot of you would know is Bob Dylan. He was born Robert Allen Zimmerman. He decided, he's one of the most incredible, or was one of the most incredible singer-songwriters, lyricists, poets, and he decided that he wanted to become this persona, Bob Dylan. So he did everything he could to be Bob Dylan. After years of success and having fans coming to his house, and he just, I guess for himself, he became almost too successful. And so he consciously did things, took action, told himself stories to tear down that image of being the famous Bob Dylan, because he just wanted to not have all these fans constantly knock on his door. And he took action to do things differently. He dressed differently. He didn't do a lot of songwriting anymore. He did some theater writing and script writing. And he just chose consciously to change the way he was being perceived, to change the action, which then changes the actions that people have around him. So you can really, the power of perception is incredible.
It's huge. Yeah, it's huge.
It's incredible.
It's huge. It is. So let's change the narrative in our world today. How would you rewrite the story? I know about the refugee issues in Australia and some other issues with the Aborigines, and I know that your leaders there have stood up very strong and even offered a public apology. And looking at what America's going through, India has done their demonetizations where 500 and 1,000 rupee bills aren't as valuable anymore, but they're trying to work that through. But a lot of people are in fear. South Korea's got their issues. North Korea is launching missiles. Iran is launching missiles. Russia's got their ships off of the coast of Delaware in the United States of America. It's just an exciting time. Help. So what I'm asking you is rewrite the story of the perception that we need to have right now as an individual and collectively on a high note so we can end this wonderful conversation with inspiration for our listeners.
And that is the thing. I think it's about realizing that we are part of this big system. We are one part of a whole game. We're not separate. We are part of what's going on in the world. This is, at the moment, a lot of crazy things are going on. Our focus right now is on all the crazy things, of course, because that's all we see in the news. But because we are part of a collective, what we need to do is we need to start with ourselves. And I always say we need to start by being a good human. And it's not that hard. Sometimes I see people and I'm thinking, why are you not nice to this person when it takes just as much effort to be nice as it does to be nasty? So I think really as a maybe a little call to action, but even just as an encouragement, if we can just start with ourselves and even do little actions by walking the talk, by smiling a little bit more, by being nice to the waiter, by leaving a little bit more tip, by offering someone a Spanish lesson, by giving someone a compliment, by not being nasty with someone, all these little ripple effects can create waves. And it is really about each and every one of us taking responsibility for our own life and really cleaning up our own doorstep to create those ripple effects. And I believe that if we can all do a little thing, even just walking down the street, picking up a rubbish that you see, or buying someone a coffee, a stranger, or anything, can create a massive wave coming from your little ripple effect.
That's fantastic. I think that was a beautiful way to close the conversation because I think that that's what we need to do is to rewrite the conversation. Like you mentioned about your father, who I believe passed away, on this day. And the whole awareness of looking at how he worked hard for our family, for the rooftop, for us to have a lifestyle that he wishes for us. And so, yes, reframing, changing your perception can make what might seem like a hellish experience into a heavenly experience.
Yeah, and I might add one last thing because I know a lot of people struggle with this. I think one of the most important things, part of this, creating ripple effects, is also forgiveness. My dad was not the perfect human. He was not the perfect dad. There are a lot of things that I could share that could change my story about not liking him. But why would I? Because there's no point. And he did the best he could with what he had. So I think the one last point to the puzzle to move forward, to create ripple effects, is also forgive. Stop holding on to grudges and letting that impact your life. There's no point in that. Forgive and love, really. Just love and be good.
I know. It's so easy, and it's really the only cure, isn't it, Franziska?
Absolutely.
Well, I'd like to thank you for this wonderful chit-chat, back-and-forth conversation. You were lovely, and wishing you all the very best. Leave us with a website that you'd like our listeners to get in touch with you.
Yeah, probably the best place to look at what I'm doing and different projects I'm involved in is my personal website, which is under my name, franziskaiseli.com. A little hard to spell, Franc for zebra, ISKAISELI.com.
Beautiful. Well, if you're ever in the nation's capital, give us a call. We'd love for you to do a presentation at the museum.
I certainly will. I'm sure I'll be there sooner than later.
Good. Many good wishes. Take care.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye. You're welcome. So here we are, folks. We have to change our perception. If we keep allowing the external atmosphere of what's coming into our boat, our boat of consciousness, we're going to drown here. So it's a thought away, and spiritual power is calling us, and we can shift the tides of faith that is coming our way and change what might seem like a negative situation, not to be naive about it. Like, I'm aware that there's certain things that are not so great, but you know what? I need to get out of that muck. So have faith in your power of perception and shift it. Hope you've enjoyed my conversation with Franziska Iseli, and you can get her from her name of her website is Franziska with a Z, ISKA Iseli, ISELI.com, or maybe visit her at basicbananas.com. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, no one can take away your happiness unless you give them permission. We are here to love each other the same. Let's end today's show with Bob Marley. Wow. Until the philosophy, who holds one race superior than another? Yep, it's time. Take a deep breath and enjoy Bob on War.
Until the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned. Everywhere is war. It's a war that until they're no longer first class and second class citizens of any nation, until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes. It's a war that until the basic human rights are equally guaranteed to all without regard to race. It is a war that until that day, the dream of lasting peace, world citizenship, rule of international morality will remaining but a fleeting illusion to be pursued but never attained. Now everywhere is war, war, and until the ignoble and unhappy regime that holds our brothers in Angola, in Mozambique, South Africa, subhuman bondage have been toppled, totally destroyed. Well, everywhere is war. It's a war. War in the east, war in the west, war up north, war down south, war, war, rumors of a war, and until that day, the African continent will not know peace. We Africans will fight, we find it necessary